The colossal gates of the Galactic Council chamber parted with a resonant hum that rippled across the immense hall. Jake Collins advanced with measured steps, his sleek black diplomatic attire forming a sharp contrast against the radiant white flooring. All around, delegates from 43 distinct species gazed down from their tiered seats, their varied bodies shaping a strange collage of colors and forms against the chamber's ancient, curving walls. At the heart of the room stood Commander Vexar of the Zetharian Empire, waiting. The alien towered nearly 3 meters high, his violet-hued skin glimmering faintly beneath the chamber's piercing lights. 4 muscled arms stretched from his wide frame, each ending in claws powerful enough to crush a human skull with ease. His elongated head bore a crown of jagged bone ridges, symbols of his station, and 6 burning eyes radiated a restrained ferocity. Jake halted precisely 10 meters from the Zephyrian leader, adhering to strict protocol. By comparison, the human was small, reaching only the alien's chest. Yet he stood upright, hands clasped calmly behind his back. His steady brown eyes locked onto Vexar's searing gaze without wavering, the faintest curve of a smile on his lips. A hush settled over the chamber, broken only by the quiet, varied breaths of dozens of species. In the viewing galleries, reporters from across the stars readied their recorders. Everyone sensed this would echo through history, though few grasped the true reason. When Vexar finally spoke, his thunderous voice rolled through the hall. Translation nodes scattered throughout instantly rendered his words into countless tongues. "Human envoy," he declared, his tone weighted with unshakable dominance. "The Zetharian Empire's patience with your kind has reached its end." Jake inclined his head slightly, his expression serene. "Proceed, High Commander." The towering alien stepped forward, claws clacking against the polished floor. "For 5 decades, your species has pushed into territories claimed by our empire. Your colonies infest worlds designated for our dominion. Your traders undermine our commerce, collapsing markets that endured for ages." A ripple spread among the gathered delegations. The feathered Kaldari fidgeted uneasily, crests pressed flat in agitation. The crystalline Nexari remained statuesque, though their glowing cores flickered in agitation. Vexar pressed on, his voice swelling with fury. "Your warships prowl routes secured by Zaharians long before your kind mastered fire. Your envoys demand a seat at councils beyond your right. Your existence itself mocks the rightful balance." Jake listened silently, hands still folded behind him. On occasion he nodded, as though the commander were reciting the weather rather than humanity's death sentence. Vexar's 6 eyes blazed brighter as his speech reached its peak. "The Zaharian Empire governs 60% of the inhabited stars. Our armadas number in the thousands. Our weapons reduce worlds to molten slag. We have never known defeat, Ambassador Collins, because none have dared defy us." The stillness that followed was suffocating. Even the subtle hum of the chamber's life support faded away. Representatives across the hall held their breath, awaiting the words that everyone had anticipated. These words. Vexar lifted all 4 arms high, a gesture that, in his culture, marked the final decree. "The Zaharian Empire demands the immediate surrender of every human military force. All colonies outside your native system must be abandoned within 72 standard hours. Every human ship now in the void must proceed to the nearest Zetharian station for inspection and likely seizure. Your kind will submit to protectorate status beneath our empire, bound by all restrictions and burdens it requires." The commander paused, letting the ultimatum sink before striking with his deadliest line. "Reject this decree, and the Zaharian Empire will brand humanity as rebels. The punishment, as every species here knows, is annihilation. We will not merely crush your armies, Ambassador Collins. We will erase every last human, down to the child hidden in some nameless rock. Your people will survive only as a warning tale to others who might think to disrupt the order of things." Jake remained motionless, eyes fixed on Vexar's towering form. Across the chamber, delegates leaned forward eagerly, straining to catch humanity's reply. Some species quietly drafted words of condolence, others calculated how to sever ties with Earth before it was too late. At last, Jake smiled. It was no nervous grin stalling for time, nor the wild mask of a man cornered. It was quiet confidence, born from knowing what none of the others yet grasped. "High Commander Vexar," Jake said, his voice clear across the chamber, though spoken gently. "I have heard your demands and your threats. I know you think the Zaharian Empire cannot be defeated. I know you boast of never losing a war. I know you command thousands of ships with weapons that scour planets clean." The ambassador stepped forward once, narrowing the ceremonial gap from 10 meters to 9. Though small, the movement shattered protocol, signaling the end of formalities. His smile widened faintly. "But I believe you misunderstand the truth of this situation. You assume humanity fears extinction. You believe the shadow of annihilation will make us bow to your dominion, yet you are mistaken." Vexar's 6 eyes narrowed, his fists clenching in dawning irritation. The tone was not what he expected. Not fear, not desperation. Instead, it sounded like certainty, perhaps even anticipation. Jake's next words dropped into the silence like stones in still water, their ripples destined to reshape history itself. "You want war, High Commander? Then prepare to be destroyed." The chamber exploded in uproar. Delegates shouted, reporters demanded answers, chaos churned. Yet Jake simply turned and strode toward the exit, his steady footfalls ringing as sharply as his final words. Behind him, Commander Vexar stood paralyzed, his titanic frame shaking with fury at the impossible defiance he had just heard. Humanity had declared war upon the galaxy's greatest power, and its envoy was smiling. Far away, Captain Lisa Morgan stood upon the bridge of the EDS Guardian, gazing at the star field through the vast forward screen. Her fingers tapped against the rail as she awaited word from Earth Command. Crew members worked tensely around her, aware the hours ahead would decide if humanity endured or was erased from galactic memory. The console beside her chair chimed with an incoming transmission. She tapped it, and the lined face of Admiral Ben Carter appeared. His weary features bore the strain of the past day. "Captain Morgan," he said without ceremony, "I trust you've received the Council report." Lisa gave a grim nod. Ambassador Collins left little room for compromise. "The crew wonders what chance we stand against the Zaharian fleet." Carter's expression stayed firm, but in his eyes flickered something unexpected. Not fear, not surrender, but the glimmer of satisfaction. "Tell them to ready for battle," the Admiral replied. "And remind them, humanity did not defy the Empire without reason. We hold strengths our enemies cannot imagine." The screen went dark, leaving Lisa unsettled. 15 years in the Earth Defense Fleet had prepared her for negotiations and patrols, not a war against an empire of 3,000 ships. Humanity fielded only 47. The math was madness. 3 decks below, Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly worked feverishly in restricted compartments few crew even knew existed. His hands danced across hidden consoles, activating systems installed quietly over a decade. Sweat streaked his brow as he checked readings, priming machinery that would either deliver salvation or expose humanity's final desperate gamble. Kelly was among the handful entrusted with Project Prometheus. While most believed humanity's fleet was modest and defensive, select scientists and engineers had built something far greater. Even with his clearance, Ryan only guessed the project's full scope. Meanwhile, on Luna, Dr. Helen Ross studied intelligence feeds from Zaharian space. Fleet deployments, troop maneuvers, strategic reports, all pointed to overwhelming superiority, By every conventional measure, humanity was about to face obliteration. The Zephyrian Empire had subdued 43 species across 1,000 years, always with minimal losses and ruthless precision. Yet Dr. Helen Ross wasn't focused on ordinary measures. Her work centered on contrasting Zephyrian tactics with something utterly alien to them, humanity itself. On a separate terminal, she scanned encrypted files bearing the highest security clearance. They revealed truths about her species no council member had ever glimpsed. While most civilizations had evolved on worlds that demanded unity and balance, humanity came from a planet forged in ceaseless struggle. Earth was classified as a death world, a crucible where predators became so efficient that they inevitably turned on one another. In his secure lab, Dr. Paul Jiang of the Terra Research Institute studied similar dossiers. Papers sprawled across his desk told the tale of human militarism stretching millennia. Where others achieved the stars through peaceful science, humanity ascended on engines first built to kill each other more effectively. Jiang paused at one sobering report. The statistics of human conflict. Over 14,000 recorded wars. Weapons designed to destroy their own world many times over. Strategies that accepted catastrophic casualties so long as victory was secured. No other known species had endured anything remotely similar. Most striking, Jiang realized, was that every human conflict had been fought against adversaries biologically and technologically identical. Humanity's evolution was tested in contests of equal strength, breeding relentless innovation, cunning strategy, and sheer will to endure. Those skills would soon be turned upon foes who had never faced resistance born from true desperation. At the Titan mining facility, Commander Nick Foster received encrypted orders. His detachment of 12 soldiers was to brace for imminent Zephyrian scouts, and more importantly, to demonstrate something unforgettable to the enemy command. Gathering his troops in the hangar, Foster surveyed faces ranging from raw recruits to hardened veterans. They didn't know exactly what awaited, but each had been drilled in doctrines no alien could fathom. Where Zephyrian troops fought until commanded to retreat, humans fought until death. Where alien generals prioritized conservation and minimal losses, human strategy embraced sacrifice for the sake of triumph. Where others saw war as a regrettable duty, humanity had raised it into an art, perfected through unending practice. The comms flared alive with news of enemy scouts breaching the system's edge. Foster checked his weapon, eyes sweeping across soldiers who bore the same iron calm carried by warriors throughout Earth's history. Outnumbered, outgunned, and opposed by superior technology, another species would have yielded. Foster only smiled, recalling his instructor's mantra. Humans don't fight fair. We fight to win. At any cost. This was the first proving ground, and the galaxy would soon learn why Earth's children had been preparing for this war since the first time they gazed at the stars. The Zephyrian First Fleet surged out of hyperspace, at the rim of Sol with the flawless discipline that had made them infamous. 3,000 warships materialized in immaculate formation, their armored hulls shimmering with shields that repelled nearly all known weapons. High Commander Vexar stood tall upon the bridge of his flagship, Destroyer of Worlds, staring at the tactical displays that mocked him with the pitiful human fleet. Near Mars, Captain Lisa Morgan received the enemy alert. The data twisted her stomach, not at what appeared, but at what it signaled was about to begin. 47 human vessels, now faced an armada sprawling across millions of kilometers. To outsiders, this moment was humanity's last breath before extinction. Yet Lisa's voice was steady as she opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Guardian Actual. Execute Protocol 7 immediately. I repeat, Protocol 7 is now active. Across the human fleet, captains who had trained their whole lives for this moment began what seemed like a desperate retreat toward the asteroid belt. The Guardian and her escorts ignited engines, surging away from the massive Zephyrian armada. Their weapon systems went dark, projecting the image of surrender. High Commander Vexar watched with smug delight. His tactical displays showed exactly what he expected. A feeble, terrified fleet fleeing inward, searching for shelter among drifting rocks. His 6 eyes glimmered at the thought of an effortless triumph that would secure his glory across the Empire. "Pursue them," Vexar ordered his commanders. "But hold formation discipline. Let them think the asteroids are sanctuary. Then we shall prove resistance is futile." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sam Parker oversaw what looked like a frantic civilian evacuation from Earth's orbital stations. Families and laborers packed transports, fleeing toward the outer worlds, their transponders wailing emergency signals that pleaded for mercy. To Zephyrian sensors, it was panic incarnate, a population abandoning its world to survive. But Sam knew the truth. Each transport was following coordinates calculated decades earlier. Every civilian was, in fact, crew, moving into position at concealed installations scattered across the system. The chaos was no panic. It was the most intricate deployment in galactic history. For 20 years, humanity had worked in secret, within the asteroid belt, shaping its rocks into weapons. Engineer Ryan Kelly had supervised construction teams that armed thousands of asteroids, transforming rubble into fortresses. Now, as the Zephyrian fleet chased deeper, Ryan triggered Phase 1 of Earth's hidden defense. What once looked like derelict mining stations roared to life, power cores blazing and antennas unfolding. But these weren't the crude facilities aliens expected. On Luna, Dr. Paul Jiang monitored from his command hub as the enemy moved into the kill zone. Project Prometheus had consumed decades, uniting every colony, every worker, most of whom never realized the purpose of their toil. Asteroids were hollowed and armed. Space debris hid guidance arrays. Derelict satellites had been retooled as missile platforms. 10,000 concealed weapons now surrounded the Zephyrian fleet, yet their sensors still read only rocks and silence. Humanity's stealth technology, refined by centuries of war against equals, kept the entire network invisible until this moment. Commander Nick Foster led Wolfpack 7 through the belt, his fighters twisting around colossal alien warships with movements alien doctrine couldn't predict. Where Zephyrian squadrons flew in rigid lines optimized for firepower, humans darted like predators, weaving attacks through instinct and experience. Foster's pilots embodied the divide between human and alien strategy. Zephyrians trusted superior numbers. Humans trusted superior cunning. His squad split, striking from multiple vectors, regrouping under cover, then lashing out again before the enemy reacted. To Zephyrian officers, the behavior was maddening. Ships that should have retreated pressed harder. Craft that should have died fought on crippled. Formations that should have broken only grew deadlier under fire. Reports streaming to Vexar made no sense. At Titan, a mere dozen humans had destroyed his scouts, at the cost of 60% Zephyrian lives. Nothing in Imperial history explained such defiance. No species fought stronger the closer they came to destruction. Ryan Kelly's grin widened as he initiated Phase 2. Asteroids around the Zephyrian armada flared alive, their true natures revealed. Plasma batteries unfolded from what looked like lifeless stone. Missile racks blossomed from disguised transmitters. Weapons long hidden in orbit finally revealed themselves. In seconds, the hunters realized they were trapped inside a fortress meticulously built around them, while they believed themselves the pursuers. Everywhere they turned, more threats emerged, proof that humanity had been preparing since the day of first contact. Across the fleet, Captain Lisa Morgan's voice rang clear, carrying the weight of history. "All units, this is Guardian Actual. The trap is sprung." The war for humanity's existence had begun, and the Zephyrians were about to learn they had not trespassed into the realm of a fragile species. They had stepped into the domain of the galaxy's apex predators. The opening barrage of human fire ripped through the Zephyrian fleet like lightning splitting the void. Plasma batteries, hidden within asteroids for 2 decades, unleashed concentrated blasts that shredded alien shields as though they were fragile glass. High Commander Vextar's eyes widened in horror as his warships erupted one after another, their fractured hulls venting atmosphere and crew into space. On Europa, Dr. Kate Adams initiated psychological warfare protocols. Secret transmitters she had prepared for years began hijacking every Zephyrian communication frequency. But instead of commands or propaganda, the invaders received something infinitely more unsettling. The first broadcast showed ancient human warriors at a place called Thermopylae, 300 soldiers resisting an army of hundreds of thousands. Zephyrians watched in disbelief as these primitives fought until the last man, bronze spears flashing under the sun, killing foes unceasingly before falling themselves. Vextar ordered jamming, but new transmissions erupted from scattered sources across the system. The next feed displayed human soldiers in a frozen city called Stalingrad, battling house to house against enemies wielding superior firepower. Aliens watched humans gnaw leather and bark for sustenance, turning shattered buildings into fortresses, refusing surrender even when their world collapsed into rubble. Amid this storm, Commander Foster spearheaded an assault on the Zephyrian command ship. His squadron darted through defenses with movements beyond prediction. Enemy gunners found themselves helpless, unable to lock onto pilots who maneuvered in ways no alien had ever conceived. Humans rolled in 3 axes simultaneously, used drifting debris as shields, and struck from vectors that defied tactical reason. Foster's squadron embodied the hunting instincts of Earth's predators, isolating prey, striking from many sides at once, coordinating with subtle signals that needed no comms. Zephyrians had superior technology, but they had never confronted opponents who could think and act as a pack with silent unity. The broadcasts continued. Dr. Adams revealed more of humanity's brutal legacy. The invaders saw footage from World War II where humans had unleashed weapons powerful enough to erase entire cities against each other. They watched the blood-soaked beaches of Normandy where thousands charged into near-certain death just to carve a foothold. They saw the Pacific campaigns where soldiers fought for months over specks of land no larger than a starship. Aboard the Guardian, Captain Lisa Morgan faced devastation from a Zephyrian battlecruiser. Her ship groaned under fatal damage. Instead of retreating, she gave the final order: ram the enemy. Her last broadcast echoed through the fleet. For humanity, for Earth, for everyone who will come after us. The collision, the impact annihilated both vessels in a blaze of light visible from Mars. Yet in doing so, it erased the Zephyrian fleet's primary command hub. Suddenly their formation faltered, secondary officers scrambling to assume control. None of them prepared for an enemy willing to sacrifice its strongest ship solely to shatter command. Deep beneath Luna's crust, Admiral Ben Carter directed the defense from his fortified bunker. Tactical holoscreens around him revealed the solar system ablaze with battle as concealed human platforms emerged from decades of preparation. Civilian liners revealed themselves as disguised missile barges. Communication satellites unfolded to reveal hidden torpedo tubes. Even solar collectors orbiting near the sun transformed into colossal beam weapons, channeling starlight into devastating lances of fire. The Zephyrians began to grasp a grim truth. They had not stormed a system guarded by a mere 47 ships. They had walked into a fortress, meticulously built over generations, where every strand of human infrastructure doubled as a weapon. Their vessels were stronger ship for ship, yet humanity had forged its entire civilization into an arsenal. Dr. Adams then released her final transmission, an image of horrors the Zephyrians had never known. Footage of nuclear tests. Titanic. Fireballs rising over barren deserts, while human scientists calmly charted the destruction of their own world. The narration explained how mankind had spent centuries perfecting the art of killing itself, refining weapons and doctrines against foes as cunning and relentless as themselves. Every tactic the Zephyrians employed had been encountered, studied, and defeated long before galactic civilization had taken shape. In orbit, Lieutenant Sam Parker, succeeding his fallen captain, demonstrated humanity's ruthless defensive doctrine. Rather than denying Zephyrian Marines their landings on asteroids and stations, he let them establish footholds. Then his forces severed their supplies, jammed their comms, and isolated detachments for annihilation. Ground troops discovered themselves in a nightmare. Enemies that refused open battle, instead striking from tunnels hollowed into asteroids years before. Humans appeared from hidden shafts, struck with precision, and vanished like phantoms. Every passage became a choke point, every chamber a fortress. The Zephyrian Marines, bred for honorable, structured combat, now faced guerrilla tactics perfected through millennia of internecine wars. Booby-trapped corpses, poisoned rations, and captured alien weapons turned back against them shattered every assumption of civilized warfare. It was then that High Commander Vexstar understood the Empire's fatal error. They had believed all species sought swift victories with minimal sacrifice. But humanity had evolved on a world where survival meant mastering violence more completely than any rival, including themselves. The galaxy was about to realize Earth's children had not merely prepared for war, they had been shaped by it. Adrift in the wreckage of his escape pod, High Commander Vexstar stared into the debris field that had once been the proud Zephyrian First Fleet. The fleet lay shattered. Around Vexstar, fragments of warships drifted like gravestones in the void, monuments to 3,000 vessels annihilated in under 6 hours. His hands trembled as he activated the emergency comms, aware he was about to send the most humiliating message in the Empire's history. The signal reached Admiral Ben Carter's command center beneath Luna, where the human admiral listened to the alien surrender with no hint of triumph on his face. Carter, who had studied Zephyrian doctrine for decades, knew their kind had never endured defeat at this scale. The psychological shock would scar their empire for generations. Vexstar's voice, distorted by failing pod systems, crackled through the link. The Zephyrian Empire formally surrenders all military operations in this system. We request terms for the cessation of hostilities. Carter leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on tactical displays, showing the utter ruin of the enemy armada. Barely a few hundred Zephyrians still lived, most stranded in wrecked pods like their commander. He had anticipated this moment, yet its gravity pressed on him. The future of galactic order would be shaped here. In the rebuilt White House, President Carol Hayes received the surrender. Advisors and generals stood tense, waiting to see how humanity would respond to its first decisive victory in galactic war. The choice before her would decide if Earth rose as a respected power or a predator others would unite to destroy. Activating a broadcast that would reach every major civilization, she prepared to address the galaxy. Already news networks across dozens of worlds blared with reports of the unthinkable victory, while leaders everywhere scrambled to gauge their own survival. Citizens of the galaxy, President Hayes began, her voice carrying the same calm command once shown by Ambassador Jake Collins in the council chamber. The Zephyrian Empire has surrendered after launching an unprovoked attack on human space. We accept their surrender, but the peace must reflect the reality of what has transpired. Meanwhile, Dr. Paul Jang finalized release of Project Prometheus, files to the wider scientific community. The documents unveiled the scope of Earth's preparations, proving humanity had been shaping for galactic war since first contact. Every embassy mission had doubled as intelligence gathering. Every trade pact had hidden strategic purpose. Each colony had been placed for military advantage. The revelation of the largest covert intelligence effort in galactic history stunned species who thought humans naive newcomers. The files showed Earth had mapped every major base, dissected every alien weapon, and built counters to technologies others believed impenetrable. Across the system, engineer Ryan Kelly oversaw cleanup as countless hidden platforms emerged to salvage wreckage. Asteroid after asteroid revealed itself as disguised fortresses, exposing the staggering depth of Earth's preparations. The Zephyrians had not fought 47 ships, but an entire star system forged into a citadel. Galactic. News outlets struggled to process the truth. Species who had known humans for half a century as traders and explorers now realized Earth's children had been preparing for total war all along. The psychological blow was immense. No one truly knew their human neighbors. Lieutenant Sam Parker, now promoted to captain for his role in the defense, compiled the battle's lessons for distribution throughout human colonies. The engagement had proven humanity's doctrine superior to anything in the galaxy, yet it also revealed capabilities that must be managed carefully, lest a frightened coalition rally against Earth. President Hayes continued her address, laying out the new order every species would face. Humanity did not seek this war, but we were prepared for it, because we understand what others have forgotten. Peace is not the universe's natural state. Peace must be earned through strength and preserved with vigilance. Her words rippled through translation across hundreds of tongues, but in every language their meaning struck with clarity. Humanity had revealed its true nature, the galaxy's apex predator, a species forged in unending conflict and now carrying that legacy into the stars. Any civilization that threatened Earth would meet the same fate as the Zephyrian First Fleet. From her command center on Europa, Dr. Kate Adams sifted through intercepted alien communications. The psychological broadcasts had cut deep, breaking the Zephyrian will. They had faced, for the first time, an enemy that grew fiercer when wounded, deadlier when cornered, and saw impossible odds not as defeat, but as opportunity. Even before official envoys could speak, the galaxy was already whispering of Earth. Military strategists across dozens of species tore apart their doctrines to account for the predators of Sol. Political leaders, shaken, scrambled to explain how they had so catastrophically misjudged humanity. Admiral Carter's reports from far-flung colonies confirmed the ripple effect. Powers once eyeing human territory with greed now offered trade treaties and defense pacts. Civilizations that had ignored human diplomats rushed to summon Earth's ambassadors. What was won in blood was now rewriting galactic politics. In Washington, President Hayes delivered the words that would be etched into history. The Zephyrian Empire demanded our surrender and threatened our extinction. They discovered that humanity has been preparing for this war longer than their species has existed. We warned them. They did not listen. She paused, letting the silence press across every comm channel in the galaxy before striking with her final words. Let this be a lesson to any who would endanger Earth or her children. We do not seek war, but we are very, very good at it. Those who test our resolve will learn what the Zephyrians learned today. When you face humanity, you do not face 47 ships. You face the descendants of a world that raised the galaxy's deadliest predators. The transmission ended. Across the stars, silence gave way to fear, calculation, and awe. The galaxy now understood. Humanity had stepped onto the stage not as explorers, but as the children of Earth, heirs of a brutal world, sharpened by violence and ready to carve their future. The age of human expansion had begun. The galaxy would never be the same.